Okay, good morning, everyone. Happy pitch day. Welcome. We're so glad you guys could join us for the culminating event of the 3rd annual Pennovation Accelerator. This cohort of 10 companies, they were chosen from over 70 applications, and they all represent a variety of industries from software to medical device to consumer products. This is our structure for the day. Each company will be pitching for 5 minutes, and the pitch will be followed by a Q&A session from our panel of judges for an additional 5 minutes. You can find our pitch day program in the spirit of pitch day. We have put together a digital program, and we are recording this session for all of you that might not be able to stay through the entire session. And now for our lovely panel of judges, we have Dr. Brandi Baldwin, founder and CEO of Millennial Ventures Holding, the parent company to a suite of brands aimed at tackling the world's most relevant challenges. Dr. Brandi's noteworthy accomplishments include being appointed to Mayor Kenny's Millennial Advisory Commission, being named one of Philadelphia's most influential African Americans, and receiving Philadelphia Business Journal's 40 Under 40 Award. Next, we have Ms. Holly Flanagan, a managing director of Gabriel Investments, a venture capital firm in Philadelphia, where she has been responsible for sourcing and leading investments, diligence efforts, and portfolio management for most of the past decade. Last but definitely not least, we have Rick Genzer for the 2nd year in a row. Rick is the Director of Investments, IT, Ben Franklin Technology Partners, a wonderful partner. He works with the investment group, identifying, vetting, and ultimately investing in seed-level high-tech companies. At the end of today's event, we will have a brief judges deliberation, and then we'll be announcing the winner of the 2020 Pennovation Accelerator. Our winner will be based on the engagement throughout the program, their overall growth, and today's pitch. Prizes include $5,000 of cash, money, 6 months desk membership at the Pennovation Center, and an accounting startup package from our partners at Stefano Slack. Okay, so for the first part of our pitches, we're going to start off with Stealth.ify, then MyGrow Design, Headway, Pression, and Buoyant, which will lead us into a brief intermission. The second part of our pitch session will include Pawsitive, Solution Medical, MielBar, Percepta, and Green Ablutions. We will then have our judges' deliberation and announce our winner. And now to kick us off, we have Shannon Morales with Stealth.ify.
Alrighty, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm ready now. Hi everyone, my name is Shannon Morales and I am the founder of Stealth.ify, a social response to public health and safety. How many of you remember the movie The Matrix? What if I were to tell you that today we are in our own real matrix, one where we have to decide between two realities. Today, our reality is this. We are currently not on a united front against the against the spread for COVID-19. Cases are increasing at an alarming rate. 31 out of 52 states are seeing increased rates of COVID-19. Small businesses are being affected. 7.5 million businesses are at risk of closing if the pandemic persists. People are afraid, consumers are afraid of not going indoors, and that is changing buyer habits. But what if I told you we can change all this by creating a solution and a united front? A community of social do-gooders, a safe space where people and COVID-19 can coexist. A place where we can make public solutions and public health, starting with social distancing for social good, because we can stand together, but 6 feet apart. Stealth.ify is creating a people-first health awareness application, a place where we can map risk areas and include testing sites, as well as vaccination sites when they become available. Better user experience to make better decisions for overall health and safety awareness, health advice, as well as protocols for stopping the spread of COVID-19, and a way for you to avoid crowds by social distancing, booking time slots of retail locations. We are going to market with our Avoid Crowds feature so that we're allowing more businesses to stay in business throughout all phases of the pandemic. Our goal is to increase profits to 20%. We are building in a capacity and social distancing compliance feature, along with the audit of who comes in and out of locations. Foot traffic analytics to make better business decisions overall, and allowing businesses to incentivize users to come during off-peak hours. Our go-to-market strategy is this. In May, we launched our registration list of early adopters. We are currently at 400 registrations. In June of 2020, we started allowing our MVP to be tested for our risk map, as well as our Avoid Crowds feature. And we heard our users asking for more enhancements on the Avoid Crowds feature. Today, in July, we're developing and enhancing that product feature out more. And we should be ready to launch and commercialize that product in August, right before the respiratory infection season. Our market is 7.5 million businesses are at risk of closing down permanently. We want to focus on the 1 million retail locations in the US, but more specifically, the 3,000 retail locations in Philadelphia in our immediate target market. We are a social impact initiative business, so we are a SaaS as well, where you pay per month per location. And we also want to be able to give back to the businesses that are hurting the most by having a buy one, give one. Our adoption rate currently is where we plan to be flat for obviously July until we finish development. August, we plan to pick up, and we're looking to have an MRR of 100K by December, which is about 4,000 registered users. We have been featured in over 5 different press releases over the past 2 months, as well as multiple podcasts. We plan to have an adoption strategy of press releases, local media, as well as partnering with African American Chamber of Commerce, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, in order to reach those small to medium-sized businesses early. This is our team. I'm the current CEO and founder. We have an internal medicine doctor who's really focused on and committed to underrepresented communities. We also have a tech advisor who's
And time.
That was it.
Thank you,
How would you
Shannon.
like, do you want us to jump in? How would you like us to do Q&A?
Yep, Now the judges are welcome to jump in with their Q&A.
Maybe I'll jump in.
Yep.
Shannon, thank you for your presentation. Really interesting company, and clearly I think we all understand the problem you're trying to solve. I wanted to get some clarification. The app appeared to me to be a consumer app with benefits to retailers, but your business model appears to be the people paying are the businesses. So I wonder if you could sort of connect that for me, how the businesses, I guess, ultimately get the consumers to use it, or how that will work.
Right, absolutely. So we started as more of a user type product. However, the Void Crowds feature was really beneficial to our user base, and it was really has a better value for businesses that are shutting down and feel like they don't have that connection with their users anymore. So they're losing losses or have at loss of 75% or more of their revenue. So we're trying to create that connection between the businesses and their user base, saying the more that they incentivize them to come back during off-peak hours. That's really why we're trying to build that.
So in terms of the user
allow
experience,
businesses to build that feature.
how do you get users then?
Well, we're currently getting users now through the registration, but also businesses can have their customer base sign up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one quick question. There's a feature, by the way, also great presentation, sorry. I enjoyed it and I love the focus of this. Google Maps has a feature that shows you busy times. Can you compare and contrast what you do with that?
Absolutely. So Google obviously has the ability to show busy times. However, with our feature, we're also giving businesses ways to have better analytics of like foot traffic data. So they're actually able to see and make better business decisions based on those data analytics, between knowing exactly who's in their location at what times, knowing what customers come during what times, and incentivizing them maybe to come during off-peak hours, or saying, hey, we haven't seen you in a week, so come back to our location. They're also, and I think that's it, sorry. Just wanted to make sure I was hitting on everything. Oh, we're also, yeah, but I think that's it. It's more of that incentivizing them to come during those off-peak hours. With Google Analytics, you just see like when it's busy, but we're allowing them to kind of expand that feature more with the foot traffic analytics of actually who's in there and at what times. So that's how we're different from Google.
Anything else from our judges?
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Jamie, I think I just seen an email coming in from Dr. Brandi. I think she's in the,
She's here.
oh,
Yes.
great.
Hi, Dr. Brandi. Okay, next up, we have William from MyGrow Design, along with his team. Hi, William.
I think you're on mute, William.
I'm off. Now you can hear me? Okay, great. Okay, share desktop. Okay. And great. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Last year, while riding my bike to work, my wheel caught the curb and I was flung from my seat over the handlebars. I survived, but my bike helmet did not. After throwing it out, I realized that this helmet was part of the 15 million tons of styrofoam waste generated each year, 99% of which ends up in landfills or oceans. Styrofoam will never decompose and generates hazardous byproducts during its production. As a product designer, I wondered why there wasn't a better solution in place. I spent the following months researching biomaterials and got my master's in biofabrication with a focus on consumer manufacturing and industry. MyGrow Design was founded to change the way things are made. We don't believe in assembly processes, we believe that products can be grown. Styrofoam is made from a heavily inducive process based on crude oil, and over 13 tons of this material is used to produce helmets each year. Our technology, it comes from nature. Mushrooms happen to be the largest transformer of material on the planet. They're the primary recyclers. They break down dead material and turn it back into the ecosystem and create new minerals and compounds. MyGrow Design has developed a mushroom-based biofoam that takes agricultural waste and transforms it into high-performance organic foams. We've used it to build our helmet, MyGrow helmet, a carbon-negative product that replaces polystyrene bicycle helmets without compromising on cost or safety. Here you can see an example of all the components that are used in an assembly process and the materials that are used to create a bike helmet. Our foam has been shown to exhibit similar density and impact performance as the traditional expanded polystyrene foams used in bike helmets. We're able to produce 5 times less of CO2 and 7 times less energy is used in comparison to EPS. And is naturally fire resistant as opposed to turning to a gaseous state. With a 10,000 square foot factory, we could produce 125 tons of this product per year. And we know how we can scale because our projections are based on existing farming techniques for commercial food. Within just 4 months, I was able to test and build an initial prototype of this helmet. We're the first company in the world to make a model of this scale using this material. And with a helmet market registering a 2.6 compound annual growth rate in terms of revenue and the market being set at 5.8 billion by 2025, biking's only becoming more popular as public systems of transportation are compromised and people's safety feels at risk with COVID and the pandemic. For the over 100 million bicycle commuters in the US alone who primarily bike to reduce their carbon footprint, our carbon negative product aligns finally the eco-conscious values of bicycle commuters with the product that can protect and save their life. This is our team. On the left, we have Charles Randolph, our staff scientist with experience as a plant biologist working at Harvard Medical, as well as David Miller, my chief science officer with a background in physics and experience working at Princeton and Columbia. My background, as I said before, is in product design, where I received my master's and a fellowship from the University of the Arts. And we recently recruited a chief operation officer, Seth Hoseman, who's currently an MBA candidate at Stanford Business School, who with their chops will help us put together a go-to-market strategy, enabling us to create packaging design for boutique brands that align with our mission, to create a quicker to-market strategy to fund our initial round of secondary prototypes to meet the needs of the consumer safety regulations. Today, we're asking for $48,000 to develop the second round of prototypes and be able to rent wet lab space inside the Pennovation Center to continue the growth that we felt within this community. Thank you.
I'm going to jump in. Thank you, William. That was a great presentation and very interesting. I'm curious how the pricing will compare to a typical helmet on the market today.
It's a great question. So I interviewed over 100 different cyclists and went to 10 of the local bike shops in Philadelphia. We've been able to create a design that has been priced around $150 for demand, but we can produce it without having the economy of scale at $11 per helmet. I recently created a relationship with Wild Fox Farm on the edge of Philadelphia, about 40 minutes from here, that has an agricultural supply chain of waste hemp, which is a key component in our composite, which would allow us to bring the cost down significantly.
So then how does that compare? That sounds pretty inexpensive. Is that far less expensive that would be than a typical bike helmet in a store today?
Yeah, if we're able to produce a bike helmet at $11 and then we're able to sell it to the market for $65 and provide the price of design at that level, we're pretty competitive.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, so in terms of two questions. One, what is the life cycle of this like product? Is it going to be, are people going to have helmets for, they're going to buy one every 5 years, every 2 years, or, what's the durability and how long would you anticipate that people can have this particular helmet versus maybe a traditional helmet?
That's a great question. So part of what our future research with the funding will allow us to do is give an absolute sort of timeline for the bike helmet's life cycle. Our current data shows that we could have a biofoam that competes for like 6 months of life cycle, which we tie into being a product opportunity, because a safer helmet is one that doesn't have any deformation, and EPS after any type of drop has to be replaced immediately and actually expires. So Snell Foundation of Helmets recommends replacing your helmet every 2 years. So we want to not only just create the first compostable and like ecologically conscious helmet on the market, we want to be the first company that provides a subscription-based model to target and create a constant loop with their users. This we feel will allow people to have iterations in their design preferences as they grow.
Awesome. That was actually going to be my follow-up question, was design and the look, because millennials and Gen Z are going to want to maybe personalize. But awesome, you touched on it, and you mentioned about the subscription-based idea. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just also want to say that we also are looking to pass the AMST standards in order to prove an option for electric scooters, which is another target market potentially for using our product.
That was going to be my question on testing, so great.
Thanks, Rick. I like your bike in the background.
Rick is building that bike.
Very slowly.
Very slowly. Thank you, William.
Thank you.
That was great. I hope that we can all be wearing mushroom helmets soon and saving the planet in the meantime.
Let's hope he has big sizes. What are the sizes? My head is, I don't know.
Well, that's actually one of our, so once we were able to prove the high impact resistance, we're able to grow to users, but that's something that's way down the line. We're trying to just create the average size, and yeah.
I can see it now. Custom Dr. Brandi branded helmets that fit your hair, no matter what.
How do I get out of here?
I'm picturing that you slather something on your head and it just sort of starts growing. See, it's like a real custom helmet. You got mushrooms growing out of your head for a little bit of while, and then you're golden.
Yeah, we certainly didn't set out to do something easy, but we really feel that the microculture revolution is coming. And we've already seen it within furniture.
Thanks, William. And MyGrow Design.
Yeah, my team.
Now transitioning to Headway with co-founder Julia Lynn.
Okay. Look at the center of your screen. Now move a little bit left. Did you move to your left or my left? And how far left did you move? 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters? Imagine you're a surgeon holding surgical tools in both hands while operating inside a patient's body, and you needed to verbally direct your assistant to move the camera a little bit left to see if the patient was bleeding. Miscommunication is the leading cause of adverse patient outcomes in as much as 1/3 of the 6.5 million minimally invasive surgeries performed each year in the US. Consider the specific example of camera movement. The attending surgeon asked the surgical assistant to move north and to the left, causing the medical student confusion. So we created Headway, a hands-free, on-screen pointer that surgeons can use to precisely communicate during surgery. It is a 2-part system that consists of a headband worn by the surgeon and a hardware box that translates head movement to an on-screen pointer. With Headway, the surgical assistant now knows exactly what the surgeon meant by move a little bit left. Headway closes the communication gap between the attending surgeon and the medical student to advance procedures more safely and efficiently, ultimately saving hospitals time and money. Review of malpractice claims shows that surgical errors are attributed to team and system failures, not individuals. Unlike other surgical headsets, Headway is designed for the team, not just the lead surgeon. Many surgeons that we've talked to have said that this is a common problem. OBGYN surgeon Dr. Shanis describes miscommunication during surgery as a frustrating, repetitive challenge. While providing feedback on Headway, GI surgeon Dr. Dumont said, a simple overlay, people would use it all the time, since this is what surgical assistants typically struggle with. We want to get Headway into ORs. To reduce the barrier to adoption, Headway is sold with a razor and blades pricing strategy, which sells the hardware box to hospitals at cost and the disposable headset at $100 each to generate recurring revenue with a 97% gross margin on a COGS of $2.34, which leaves us room for channel partners. Our total addressable market is over $1 billion, representing all surgeons that operate with an endoscope inserted into the body, which includes surgeries like otolaryngology, arthroscopy, and orthopedics. Or in other words, those of the head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Laparoscopy relates to surgery in the abdominal area performed by general and GI surgeons that would more easily adopt Headway into their surgical training programs. Our market entry would start with geographic proximity to us in the US Northeast, so we can better support those early customers. To date, we've had over 50 stakeholder conversations, but plan to continue this customer discovery to refine our key value propositions to the end user, purchaser, and approver, who are all likely to be different people in the hospitals. Our next milestone will be to complete an alpha prototype of Headway for user testing in surgical simulation labs, and we have the partnerships to do so. While publishing the early results of this user testing, we can also start the regulatory process for FDA Class II medical device clearance. As an early medtech company, reaching FDA clearance as soon as possible is imperative. But following that, our go-to-market strategy relies on those early adopters to be our surgeon evangelists. Our targeting criteria for early adopters are surgeons that pride themselves as educators, are key opinion leaders in their field, and regularly perform minimally invasive surgery. They will support our efforts by marketing the product at conferences and referral selling to other surgeons. Headway Surgical LLC is a team of recent graduates from the University of Pennsylvania's Integrated Product Design, nailed it, program with diverse backgrounds in engineering, design, and healthcare strategy. We are strongly supported by Penn Medicine clinicians and surgeons as clinical advisors, and engineering and design professionals as technical advisors. At this stage, we are currently asking for introductions to surgery program directors that invest in surgical training, and to surgeon innovators, especially GI and OBGYN specialties. If you have any comments or relative introductions, or just want to say hi, please email us at headwaysurgical@gmail.com, just shown on the bottom. We are making headway in improving team communication in minimally invasive surgery. Thank you, and we welcome any questions on our business and our product.
One question about how redundant are you going to make this? What if it crashed? Meaning, what if, and you're in the middle of surgery, the thing just cuts out?
One, it's kind of value plus, so they would have just revert back to their previous communication styles. They can also just grab another one out of the box. It'll be always on. And third, it's voice activated, so you should be able to toggle it on and off and have it not interrupt your flow. And I think the failure rate, is low because the technology is quite straightforward in that it's really just an always on device that has the battery life to last a full day of surgery. And the connections are simple and should have a pretty high reliability rate.
Thank you. Great presentation. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
I just had one question. I recall in the materials that you said a doctor could use this all day long. Is there any concern around, sanitizing the equipment or a need to, how do you keep the equipment clean, I guess?
Yeah, so our comparable that we're actually designing for in terms of sterility would be like a cloth cap that surgeons already wear throughout the day in multiple surgeries. So they typically have surgery days and they have office days. And these surgery days, they'll bounce between ORs, but staying in like that wing, like that area of the hospital. Occasionally, and this depends on the hospital system that they work in, and it differs locally, they'll wear a bouffant, which is like the single-use mesh thing, single-use covering between rooms. And so we've tested the technology above and below bouffants, and it still works. So it would fit the standard of the cloth cap as a comparable.
Thank you.
You mentioned earlier that the technology is pretty straightforward. Is there anyone out there that's already doing what you all are doing, or how fast can someone sort of copy this concept, you know, and bring it to market as well?
Yeah, I don't think anything's fast in healthcare, but we have filed to, as master's students, we filed for a waiver that says the university does not own our IP, and then we'll file provisional and work with that strategy. Before that, it's just speed to market. So right now, there's actually nothing like it on the market. I know everyone says that, but other surgical guidance headsets, like this AR/VR headset here, don't target this team communication aspect. So they actually give more and more information to the surgeon to the detriment of this team understanding of what's going on. So you can see that they're actually pretty complementary in that the technology is there, and then the current workarounds that are indirect competitors are the workarounds they're currently doing, like gesturing with tools inside the body, it's dangerous, and pointing at screens, which breaks the sterile field when they touch a monitor. And both of these are very common behaviors. So we're kind of in that middle of team communication, but a headset technology.
Have you done an IP search on that? I just wanted to follow up, Dr. Brandi. Have you done an IP search to find your freedom to operate in here?
Yeah, we're working through that. There are similar things, but I think there are defensible portions of how we approach it that are non-intuitive. Our down select, we target costed in our down select process. We chose a very, very straightforward technology, and we've seen others try to achieve this effect with really expensive technology. I think the business model and operating margins in med tech means that you're not going to be able to put a high level system in if the value isn't there. And because of that, our cost breakdown means our raw materials and COGS are really low, and we have that operating margin with the disposable. So we've seen reusables at a larger price point. The harder, you know, the more technology you put in, I think the higher value you have to justify. Does that make sense?
Sorry, Dr. Brandi.
No, that was awesome. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, so like other onboard processing, I'd say the COGS in terms of electronics and mechanical components is $10 to $20, not including quality assurance and all the like magnifying effects of complexity, versus we're like a couple IDs and a battery and single use. So pricing advantage there.
I actually do have a follow-up. I know when we have to probably move on. So with regard to, you know, we just came off of a presentation that was talking really about sustainability, being eco-friendly, you know, and then you have this sort of single-use product. Just quickly, if there's anything you can speak to that, or, you know, how can they be reused at all, recycled, or what?
Yep. Yeah, that depends a lot on our like operational side to try to figure out this recollection piece. And so it's very common to do single use. And I know that does not benefit the environment in the medical device thing. So we have talked through what a recollection strategy would look like. So at least the inherent costs of manufacturing and injection molding, which is our main manufacturing process, we'd be able to reduce some of that effect, even if we were cost neutral or a little positive. But until we can, you know, run the numbers and start testing this product, I don't think we can speak to how viable a recollection strategy would be.
Great, thank you.
We have a fun website if you want some moving pictures. A little plug there.
Thanks, Julia.
Okay, thank you.
Rick, did you have another question? Okay, just checking that our judges.
Just saying thank you. On mute.
All right. I'll give the judges a couple of moments to fill in their notes. Next up, we have Adam from Pression.
give a couple more minutes, Jamie, or should I get going?
I think we can start.
Right. Well, good morning, everyone. I am here to talk to you about a product that has $3 million in corporate R&D behind it from Lockheed Martin, a powerful and growing patent portfolio, and a huge market potential for both athletic and multiple medical applications. I was the program manager for Lockheed Martin, overseeing the R&D program to help warfighters carrying heavy loads with the challenges of fatigue. And just as this technology was ready to transition from the lab, Lockheed shifted their core business focus to only large platform defense systems. Now, fortunately for me, this gave me the opportunity to acquire the rights and repurpose the tech for athletes and for patients. So I want to be clear, I am not asking you to take a chance on R&D. That's already been done. And let me introduce you to our realization of that technology. This is the Pression Wave and is currently at the MVP stage. The Wave consists of a pair of sleeves worn on each of your calves. These sleeves are connected to a compression control box via tubing. Our unique and patented insight is that we only apply compression in the space between heartbeats. We work with the body, we don't work against it. Our testing has shown that the accuracy of the sensing needs to be within 10 milliseconds, or the compression benefit wanes. We've proven we can meet this requirement, and that's even as the heart rate changes. And what makes this such a great opportunity is that the same hardware can be used for both the medical and the athletics application. Now, because the medical market requires a longer, more expensive path to market, we're going to attack athletics first. Athletes are already spending $10 billion a year on gear and tools to help them recover faster. Normatec is the market leader in active compression for athletes, and they focus on providing recovery today for a performance benefit tomorrow. And not only that, Normatec systems don't know anything about you as an athlete and you as an individual and what you need in that moment for your recovery. Now, with our Wave system, with just 5 minutes of use, we enable recovery for you today. The only other tools that are out there that are claiming to provide the same benefit are Gatorade and massage. Now, with athletes and their teams, we can leverage their passion for early adoption and their willingness to pay to gain a legal competitive edge to enter the market and begin generating revenues. So these revenues can be used to help support expansion into the even larger medical market. And as you can imagine, it's quite a bit easier for us to get access to athletes than it is to patients. With athletes, we can do testing that simultaneously proves out the hardware for both athletic and medical use cases. These factors help us significantly reduce our dependence on raising outside capital to enter the medical market. We've done a lot of testing with athletes in the region, and the results on the screen show that with just 5 minutes of using our system, athletes can perform at their maximum power potential for more minutes during a game because they're more efficiently using their limited metabolic resources. Imagine Joel Embiid from the Sixers using our system during a timeout so that he can play the entire 42 minutes of play instead of the 30 he currently averages. Or a triathlete being able to use our system mid-workout to extend the results of their training. For patients, there's many diseases which cause decreased circulation and could benefit from support like this. Heart disease, #1 killer of Americans. 50% of those deaths come from patients with congestive heart failure. And we see this as our beachhead medical application. The problem with congestive heart failure is reduced cardiac output and stroke volume. And our tests have shown we improve both of these metrics, and we sustain it for longer when compared against the top 3 competitors who represent 80% of this market. And that's even when we run it at the reduced pressures our competitors use. We're also already working in the lab on miniaturizing our system to turn it into a portable form factor, which is going to further extend our competitive advantage. In addition, we're actively applying for federal grants to support these developments and to do our clinical studies. Who's bringing all of this to market? Well, it starts with me as the CEO. I was previously the Deputy Corporate Chief Scientist at Lockheed Martin for 6 years. My role there was high risk, high reward R&D to the tune of about $20 million a year. And the tech behind Pression is one of those projects. Sean Peterson is an expert in fluid flows and fluid dynamics in the body. And we have an amazing and growing group of advisors who hail from the US Olympic team, Adidas, NASA, soon to include cardiologists, sports medicine, physicians, as well as professional athletes from multiple sports. We're currently seeking to raise $750K, and that's going to give us a 15-month runway. We'll continue gathering data with athletes, and that process is designed to not only provide athletic market benefit, but also inform the needs for our CHF medical beachhead. The data itself also has tremendous value. There's no tool for athletes today that currently supports understanding their readiness for competition, and athletes and their teams are desperate for it. We're going to grow our team with sales, marketing, and product development, and finally move from a prototype to our first production system. We expect to see our first revenues this year. Thank you, and I'll take your questions.
Thanks, Adam. Great presentation, very interesting. I have two questions. The first one is, what is the current relationship with Lockheed Martin, and how are you able to obtain the technology? And then the second question is more specifically around, are there injuries in particular that this will help? This overall helps fatigue? Like, what's the actual specific issue that you're solving for?
Yes, thank you for asking that. It's an important, two important questions. So the relationship with Lockheed Martin, we bought the technology outright. We own it completely. There's no license back. There's no privileges that they retain. It's ours. Your second question about applications for injuries. So one of the injury healing, wound healing is a really expansive application space. One of the things we like to focus on are joint replacements. So there's 2 million joint replacements just for knees and shoulders, knees and hips in this country. Increased blood flow is known to speed that recovery process and reduce the risk from it. So that's one of those types of applications for injury.
So will you need to go through any kind of regulatory process to prove the effectiveness?
Yes, so we would be considered a Class 2 medical device. On the congestive heart failure front, there is an existing predicate device, so we can go down the 510K path.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Can you go back to your very first slide? Maybe this is just me, but your cover slide.
Oh, sure.
But it looked like oppression when I first saw the name. Again, that may just be where my head is at right now in this season, but so just you may want to reconsider that. Again, I don't know why, but just one of those things that popped out to me.
Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, but the second thing is I'm a little bit confused about, this is a device that goes on their body somewhere. Is there an additional, like a smartwatch, or is there like an app or somewhere where, where is the data going, or is there any data as a part of this, or is it just the device is doing something and we know it's working, just like a portable massager, like we know it's doing something for our body, or is there something where some sort of data or biometrics are being sent somewhere?
Thank you. That's a really important question. I appreciate you asking that. So the sleeves that you wear, these go on your calves. There is, in the current version of the MVP, there's a pulse ox type sensor that goes on your fingertip that we use to get the blood flow, the heart rate information that we use. We're currently working on a version of these sleeves where the sensors are integrated inside of it. And to your question about what data we get off of it. So with a pulse ox sensor, we can track heart rate, we can track our impact on heart rate, we can also track oxygenation, particularly when you're looking at clinical patients. That's something of importance to watch. When we get to sensors that are here, we can directly measure changes in blood flow. So it's more than just the information we can infer here. And now the question about data. So for athletes, information about things like heart rate variability and how quickly their heart rate comes down from where they were and where they maintain it, and additional information about lactate is very important to tell them about where they are in their recovery process. And that's the data we'd include as part of an additional part of our offering, in addition to just the hardware itself.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks.
So I just have a question about the comparison you seem to imply during your presentation. I think you mentioned that you only compress in between heartbeats or something. And that felt to me like you were comparing against other systems that are more blunt force, where they're just doing compression. Did I infer that from what you were saying?
Yes. So the systems.
Is that the key differentiator, is the fact that you're doing something between heartbeats?
That's a big part of it, yes. So applying compression in between heartbeats means we're working with your body instead of against it. The systems I refer to are what you're thinking about. There are these sort of blunt force things. They just give you a really hard squeeze and hold it for a little bit and then let go of it. And this is what physicians are trying to use today to help with these problems. But in addition to that, it's the type of flow that's generated by our compression. You need this oscillatory rapid flow that our system generates to elicit the type of response that our system gives.
And why can't these other systems do that?
Oscillatory flow requires rapid actuation, and it requires actuation that is timed appropriately. So if you apply compression at the wrong time, you're actually reducing the delivery of blood flow and slowing down the entire system.
So it's the precision that you have in your device that.
Yes, yeah, we found 10 milliseconds is the window you have to do this within.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Again, I'll give the judges a couple of moments to take notes. Next up, we have Sherry with Buoyant.
Hey, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, I'll jump in. Hi, everyone. My name is Sherry, and I'm the founder of Buoyant, a specialized telemedicine service for migraine. We all know someone who gets migraines, and we often think of them as bad headaches, but a more accurate description is a chronic neurological condition. 75% of migraine sufferers experience at least one attack a month, and 90% can't work during an attack. I've personally had migraines since I was 12 years old, and my own experience is feeling constantly on my toes because I never know when I'm going to get one, and when I do, I have to cancel and reschedule the rest of my day. Most patients aren't satisfied with their existing care for migraine. This is because people are not getting care, and because the care that they're getting is not good enough. I'll describe what a typical patient journey looks like. First, a patient needs to find the right doctor. But who do they go to? There are only 500 headache specialists in the US, and many generalists don't feel comfortable or don't care about seeing migraine patients. Then the patient waits for weeks for an appointment, and they have a one-off visit. They walk away with instructions to come back in half a year. But the migraines are still recurring every month, and the treatment plan needs iteration. And finally, the patient probably has some medications in hand now, but they want to have other lifestyle options too. Buoyant is a specialized telemedicine service for convenient and personalized care. With a Buoyant membership, patients don't have to navigate finding the right doctor. They're assigned a doctor who they can message at any time or schedule video appointments. They also receive a customized treatment plan, and that includes both medication and lifestyle elements. In a world where telemedicine is growing in importance, most solutions still focus on one-time acute care, whereas Buoyant is the only comprehensive telemedicine option that's specialized for migraine. Our target customers are people who get 1 to 15 migraines per month. And through customer interviews and surveys, we've identified this segment as really feeling that frustration of missing work or school frequently. And they also value the convenience of not having to take even more days off from work. And at the same time, they don't need in-person treatment or procedures. Our pricing starts at $120 for an annual membership. So our total market opportunity is the 40 million US migraine population. Our target segment is patients with 1 to 15 migraines a month, and that represents a $3 billion opportunity. Our target market is focusing on those who are not satisfied with their solutions today, and that's an opportunity of $1.7 billion. We're initially proving our concept in the Pennsylvania and New Jersey region, which is where we're currently licensed to provide medical care, and then we'll expand to other geographies. We have a growing team with a strong background in telemedicine, migraine, and innovation. My own background is in healthcare consulting and operations, and I'm also currently an MBA candidate at Wharton. Our lead physician, Jason, has worked in primary and urgent care and also gets migraines himself. And Catherine, our advisor, is one of those 500 headache specialists in the US, and she has developed our clinical approach with us. Our go-to-market strategy is to start with direct-to-consumer to really prove our concept and our target customer segments. We recently created our social media presence, including Instagram and Facebook, and we're currently having conversations with providers to explore referral partnerships. Then in the long term, we plan to scale to other stakeholders like employers or payers who are losing productivity today because of migraine. We're currently seeing pilot customers with third-party texting and video apps. But to take the next step in our customer adoption, we need $25,000 to build a customized mobile app and to further build out our marketing and operational infrastructure. We would also love introductions to providers like primary care or neurology offices for developing those provider partnerships. Thank you for your support in helping us become the best specialized migraine telemedicine service in the market in the coming few years. We'd love to hear your feedback and questions.
Thank you, Sherry. Judges?
Great presentation. There are a variety of telemedicine apps out there. Why can't you use an existing telemedicine app and just adapt some of this content to it?
Sure. So we are currently using some third-party texting and video calling apps to actually test out what our interaction with patients looks like. But we really need a customized mobile app, because in addition to just the simple texting or calling a doctor, we want to be able to provide additional continuous behavioral elements. So whether that's patient education, tracking of their symptoms and of their attacks, and using that data to find trends. There's also just other behavioral elements like reminders and coaching. And so we really want to have that all integrated into one place so that a patient doesn't have to really do that one-off model of like, oh, let me check here for one thing and then there for another. And we think that will really be part of our value proposition to a patient.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding, you talked about the behavioral elements. Is this app going to be collecting information from patients? I know sometimes migraines, there may be a food that you eat that's actually triggering it. Are you providing some of that information so that essentially they will be able to wean themselves off of your app rather than having to sort of use this as a, for their entire lifetime? Is there something embedded in your process that can help them to hopefully go from 15 a year down, or is that a part of your solution?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such an important point, because today doctors often don't really have an incentive to help patients actually reduce the frequency or severity of their migraines. And that's really what we are bringing to the table, that our incentives are aligned. And so one of the elements of our app is also the diary. And in the diary, patients can track, some foods that or behaviors that might trigger migraines for them. They can also look for trends, and the doctor, has access to this as well. So they can look for trends in, every time, you get, you drink a lot of caffeine, you tend to, get a migraine. And so these are behaviors that you can actually implement. And really beyond that is just offering this place where we have this continuous feedback loop of, we see that in a majority of our patients, these are some of the things that work for them. And so we want to also bring those learnings to then help the rest of our patient population. And I think there's so much opportunity for knowledge sharing and also, moving towards that ultimate goal of helping people reduce that pain and that frustration.
Okay, yep. I'll let Holly go.
No, that's great. Thank you. Those were some of the questions I had. Nice job.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sherry. And with that, we are at intermission. We're going to give you, the audience, about 5 minutes to take a bio break, get coffee, and we will return for our part 2, 5 more pitches from our cohort, and then we'll announce the winner. Okay, see you in a few. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of the Pennovation Accelerator Pitch Day. To kick us off, we have Samaya of Pawsitive.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Samaya, and I'm the co-founder of Pawsitive, and I'd like to start with a question. Do you know anybody who's become a new dog parent during the quarantine? And you could just maybe click the raise hand feature on Zoom. We all know those iconic dog parents from the movies, but I'm talking about that dog mom who recently moved in with her boyfriend and whose puppy is her practice baby, or that dog dad who recently got divorced but shares joint custody of his dog with his ex. And for all those new quarantine parents, the Pawsitive app helps parents raise happy, healthy dogs by providing affordable, accessible support. We've talked to over 50 dog owners, and we've found that they have a couple of things in common. When they first get their dog, they tend to be really anxious, and they ask friends, families, and online forums for advice. But they often get misinformed about proper pet care because there's a lot of fake news out there. They hesitate to contact specialists like dog trainers, behaviorists, nutritionists, because these services have large upfront costs. And they tend to purchase treats as a Band-Aid solutions because they don't want to solve these recurring issues. There's 40 million dog parents in the US market. They spend $100 to $170 per month on their dog, yet only 7% of spending is allocated towards training, which indicates to us that this is a great market opportunity. We believe that amidst and after a global pandemic, dog parents need hyper-local community for real connections now more than ever, virtual training and televet consultations with nationwide experts, and personalized dog care advice, nudging parents towards healthy habits. With Pawsitive, dog parents can complete fitness and wellness challenges with other parents in their area. We look and feel like a Tinder meets TikTok. They can complete online personality quiz questions about their pet after each challenge. And as they learn more about their pet, they can reach out to experts through group chats and pay-per-minute video calls with these consultants. From the expert point of view, they can keep track of clients and nudge them towards healthier habits. So our complete product consists of free community features to connect with other dog parents, marketplace features to connect with experts on demand, and personalization features so that you can learn more about your dog. We've partnered with 5 vetted dog trainers, 1 nutritionist, and 1 behaviorist to provide amazing content within our app. And our dog personality quiz was created at the University of Pennsylvania and validates each dog personality trait against proven benchmarks so that we can really figure out when to do a DIY approach or when to recommend a professional, like a trainer or even a behaviorist if the problem is serious. And actually, we're the only app on the market that provides that spectrum of DIY to expert advice. We're also the only app on the market that uses social proof to motivate and nudge users towards healthier habits. We ran a small beta test, and actually our app just got launched to the App Store yesterday, so please download it. And one of our beta users said, "I'm passing on Pawsitive to a few friends who would love it, and I'm going to stay on it because I'm excited to see how it evolves." A dog trainer on Pawsitive says, "It's like assigning homework to my class when I'm not there. I love it." And we actually, it's crucial that we rely on these word of mouth recommendations with our lean marketing strategy. We hope that dog trainers, specialists, dog walkers, dog moms, and dads pass on Pawsitive to other users. But we'll continue to develop our online customer acquisition channels as well. In terms of revenue, we'll take a 95% margin on a $4.99 a month monthly subscription, and we do a 30-70 revenue split for video consults. Future revenue streams include subscriptions for the trainers and specialists to access our community once it's large enough, as well as advertising other dog services like walking, grooming, pet supplies. We'd start with Philadelphia in our first year of business, a city that we know and love best. Philadelphia has a population of 220,000 dog owners. We believe that 10% of the market, or 22,000 dog owners, will be free users of the app, and 2,200 dog owners will be subscribers of the app. We'd moved to New York City in our second year of business, and again, 1% of the New York parents, or 3,700 parents, would be new subscribers to our app, along with we factored in recurring revenue, monthly recurring revenue, and the lifetime value of our customer in our finance model. Our vision is to provide affordable, accessible community support for all dog parents, and we hope to release all our features by the end of this year. We are definitely the team to do this and launch it and scale it to success, and we're so grateful to our mentors who have helped us along the way. With that, we are Team Pawsitive. Please download our app at pawsitiveapp.com. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, Samaya. Judges?
Thanks.
Okay, go ahead, Holly.
You go ahead. Okay. Thanks, Samaya. I appreciate your presentation. And I'm not a really new dog owner, but I do have a dog who's about 4 or 5 now. I'm curious about a few things. One is, for your business model, for your competitors, how does their business model differ or align with what you're doing? And then in your market evaluation, the number of customers that you assume, is that market assuming puppies or more mature owners, and how have you looked at it in that regard?
With the first question, if you can see my screen, Fuzzy is one competitor, and they specialize in video and just chats with veterinarians, but there's no other feature. It's just a chat system with a vet. Pupper and Good Pup are dog training apps, and they do what we're trying to do, which is the short video milestones for training, as well as chatting capabilities and video capabilities with the experts. How we differ is our community features. So not only having access to the experts, but also having access to buddies whom you can practice these challenges with. So that social proof to motivate and nudge users is really a key aspect of why people will stay on our app longer than these other apps. And then another part of our offering is the dog personality quiz. So letting our pet parents know exactly when they would need help with training, because most dog parents don't want to spend that full $300 or $500 on a full package. They just want to be able to train their dog on certain aspects that fit into their lifestyle, if that makes sense. In terms of the market, I could go to the finance model. This we've actually, based on our interviews, this is more qualitative data, but we found that dog parents who have dogs between the age of 1 to 2 years old still haven't fully trained their dogs. So because they only allocate 7% of spending towards training, that's not something that's top of mind. And so some of those dogs are still very badly behaved. And so they would also be target users of the app. We would consider them to be new pet parents.
Okay, so the 2,200 Philly subscribers are all people with pets in that range then?
Yes, yeah.
And then, I'm sorry, on the competitive slide, I was also specifically looking for how they charge versus how you're charging. Are you in line with what the market's charging on a monthly basis?
So the Good Pup and Pupper actually charge by tiers. We've just started with our $4.99 a month basic tier, but if it was more advanced dog training like nose work or field work, those prices would increase and you'd have a tiered subscription model.
Thank you.
How do you plan on onboarding the service providers? How do you create awareness with the service providers on the app?
So we actually, we have only vetted and validated service providers. So all our dog trainers are KPA certified, Karen Pryor Academy, or CPDT certified. And there's actually an online directory that has all these trainers and their emails. So what we did was we emailed maybe 150 dog trainers who were certified, and 5 of them got back to us, did video interviews, and they were very excited to be a part of the app.
Thank you.
My question is regarding, well, I have two questions. The first one is your rationale for having this city by city rollout, if this is a digital product with pets, and is that because of the service provider aspect, or why can't someone log on, or why can't this take a different route in terms of expanding your customer base?
I think that's since we're a small team, we're relying on word of mouth, and so we really believe that now during the pandemic, the hyper-local approach is what we need to build a community in the first place. And once we can build a community in one city, that's a proof of concept that we could scale to other cities and even the suburbs. So we've actually did a little test, and I could show you the results of it. Where we went out to Rittenhouse Square Park and we talked to 20 dog owners, and 14 of them were ready to talk to us. 6 of them said, stay away from me, social distancing, but 5 of them signed up on the spot. So we had a 20% in-person conversion rate in that one experiment. But we then DM'd and emailed 200 dog owners in this area, trying to get them on the app, the beta app, and we had a 0.9% online conversion rate. So we're seeing this trend of the hyper-local community having a lot of engagement and people wanting to meet up. And so we believe that's the most successful way of scaling as a small startup.
My second question is, it sounds like you're basing the need of this app off of the age of the dog. But what I found, me being a former dog parent, my dog is now in doggy heaven right now. And, but once I get another dog, I've noticed that pet owners in general, a lot of them, they're used to managing and handling animals in general. So although they may have a puppy again, doesn't mean that they don't know how to take care of that particular dog. They've learned the methods the first time. So how are you going to be able to identify the right type of customer, which is really a customer that is new to pet ownership in general? Is that what you're saying? Whether they have a younger dog or an elderly rescue dog, or is that what your primary customer is?
Yes, so you are right, where a new dog parent could have adopted a rescue that's a 14-year-old dog or a 12-year-old dog, but they would still be considered a new dog parent. And I think that's why we're now starting to shift our focus towards animal shelters and even dog breeders to see who are those new parents, because that will give us more data on the right type of customer to approach. And we've also noticed kind of a lifestyle trend. So even if dog owners don't necessarily need the training or don't believe that they need the training, they're very excited by the community features of the app. So they might be dog owners who like to hike and they want to find other dog owners who love to hike, or they're dog owners who
I get it.
sit in Rittenhouse Square. Yeah.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Samaya and Pawsitive, and thank you to our judges. Next up, we have Solution Medical with Julia and John.
All right. Can everybody see me? Perfect. Let's get this all set up. I'm here talking with you today because my brother and I have fought off death multiple times throughout our lives. Most recently, my brother passed out in a New York City restroom and no one who saw him was able to help. That's because his life-saving medication requires 15 steps and multiple minutes to mix and administer. I know many of you watching today have a loved one who carries an EpiPen, or maybe you carry one yourself. What would you do if at a moment's notice, your loved one or a stranger needed their EpiPen and you had to perform all of these tedious and complicated steps when someone's life is hanging in the balance? Sufferers of adrenal insufficiency, including both my brother and myself, do not have the luxury of an EpiPen. Luckily for my family, my other brother was there that day and was able to provide our oldest brother his life-saving medication. The same cannot be said, however, for the nearly 1 million individuals at risk for an adrenal crisis in both the United States and Europe. We all have to worry that if we have a crisis, someone will be able to perform a veritable chemistry experiment to save our life. At Solution Medical, we are solving this problem by providing adrenal insufficient sufferers and their caregivers a safe, reliable, and easy way to deliver urgently needed medication. Solution Medical is creating the EpiPen for adrenal crisis. Unlike other solutions, our patent-pending combination drug delivery product provides one-step medication mixing that is 20 times faster than the current standard of care. It also automatically removes air and can be activated in any orientation. With our simpler, faster, and safer solution, we aim to improve user experience and increase adherence, improve outcomes, and decrease healthcare burden, and most importantly, save lives. To get to market, we plan to initially target Pfizer injectables because they dominate the adrenal disease space, and their packaging patents, are approaching expiration. Beyond Pfizer, many generic pharma companies have already expressed interest in our technology, and in fact, earlier this week, we were approached regarding a potential licensing opportunity. Our current plan is to acquire the drug from a generic supplier, fill and finish our device through contract manufacturing, and distribute or sell our devices through a strategic partner. This pathway provides the most complete solution with the highest investor returns, but does not preclude licensing or acquisition deals occurring throughout our commercialization process. The drugs going into our Class 2 medical device are off patent and well understood by both manufacturers and the FDA, allowing us to pursue an accelerated regulatory pathway. And we plan to meet with the FDA for our pre-sub meeting by the end of this year. The $320 million adrenal disease market is just the beginning, however. Worldwide healthcare is trending towards more at-home treatments, and pharma companies are seeking ways to deliver high-volume drugs for self-treatment in a timely manner. With our delivery system, we intend to first, protect existing pharma revenue streams, second, provide a faster, less expensive path to market, and third, offer the prospect of intellectual property extensions for existing drugs that are either off patent or approaching patent expiration. Possible markets include in vitro fertilization therapies, monoclonal antibody treatments, and antipsychotic drugs. Our core team of patients, that's me, and I also went to Thomas Jefferson University for product design, startup veterans, and user experience experts, is backed by clinical, regulatory, and strategic advisors from pharmaceutical companies, including the president of Bayer Pharma, and Dennis Boyle, one of the founding partners of IDEO, a world-renowned medical design firm. Last but not least, Johnson & Johnson recently indicated their support of our work by welcoming Solution into its prestigious JLabs family. To take the next step, we are raising $2 million to optimize our patent-pending products, continue further into regulatory work, and show proof of concept manufacturing with current pharma fill and finish lines, all of which we intend to do over the next 18 months. I'll leave you with one last thought. The time it has taken for this pitch is still less time than it takes most people to mix and prepare the life-saving medication that my brother and I need. Sorry, that always gets me a little choked up there. My name is Julia Anthony, and I'm the founder and CEO of Solution Medical. I invite you to join Solution and our growing cohort of partners, which will soon also include EveryLife Foundation and Global Genes. With your investment, we can save lives because together we are the solution. Thank you very much. I've covered a lot today. Who has the first question?
Thank you. I'll go first. I'm sorry about the intensity of this. I have one of my daughters has a severe nut allergy, and she uses a branded product called EpiPen, which seems similar to what you're talking about. It's not a complicated thing. It appears that you just take the cap off. I mean, I've practiced with it many times. So it does not feel like a 12-step process, although it is a very expensive thing, that also I know. So how are you different than the branded EpiPen?
Sure. So the medication that is necessary for someone experiencing an adrenal crisis requires what's called reconstitution. That means that there's a diluent or a liquid, and then there's a freeze-dried powder, and those two things need to be mixed immediately prior to administration. An EpiPen, the epinephrine is solution stable. So that means it can sit in its pre-filled syringe throughout its shelf life and just be used. The thing that complicates this drug and other drugs that we mentioned, so IVF drugs, MABs or monoclonal antibodies, antipsychotics, many of them need to be mixed immediately prior to injection, and they only have a very short shelf life once they are mixed. That's why we can't just stick this drug or the other drugs I lightly mentioned into an EpiPen.
Thank you.
EpiPens also have a variety of medically related and technically related things that would not work for our indication and others, like needle depth, volume restrictions, and a handful of other things.
Julia, this is Holly. Thank you for the presentation and a wonderful job. Maybe I missed this, but are there protections around your device that would prevent someone from, EpiPen saying, it's very different, but I have the mechanics and the suppliers and the manufacturing set up? How do you protect yourself around someone else coming in and doing what you're doing?
So we have multiple provisional patents filed right now. We're currently working on another for the automatic air removal that's in our proof of concept prototype. We have done prior art searches, and we've also done a high level freedom to operate. It turns out that not only is the patent for this product expiring in 2023 in Europe and 2025 in the US, but there are a handful of other patents that are all expiring just next year. So there are a lot of devices in this space. This is a problem people have been trying to solve now for over 40 years. But by incorporating all of the mechanics and the three things I mentioned during the presentation, automatic air removal, single step reconstitution or medication mixing, and orientation independent activation. We are also sub-Q or IM in terms of our needle depth. We're carving out our space in this field. Does that answer your question?
Sure does.
Do you have at least one prototype yet? Have you done it once? Yet? In terms of
Yeah, so we have a prototype. I'm embarrassed to say I'm in New York right now and I don't have it with me, but I think John does. John, our CSO, is running the slides. But we do have a proof of concept prototype that does, in fact, with our benchtop studies, mix 20 times faster the medication than this does. So we're raising the money to be able to take that prototype and bring it to the next stage, design for manufacturing.
Awesome, thank you.
They're all at the shop. I'm sorry I don't have them. They're all at our fab facility. Can't show you.
We've turned our kitchens into Breaking Bad labs, and one of our engineers in Philly has, I think, most of the prototypes right now. So. Any other questions?
Thanks, Julia. Thank you, John. Next up, we have MielBar with Sam.
Hello. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. Great. Can you see my screen okay and hear me okay? Yes. All right.
It's loading, yes.
Okay, great. As a first generation Latina, I am all too familiar with looking in the mirror, seeing my curls and waves and thinking they were untamable, frizzy, and unprofessional. As I got to know my hair better, I did everything you can think of to try to straighten it with all the heating tools, used all the gel products to try and tie it back in a bun or a ponytail to tame the frizz. This is something that my mother was not too happy about. She is an all-natural hair care enthusiast who firmly believes that deep conditioning is really the foundation of healthy hair. My mother actually makes her own deep conditioning treatments, and so she's been doing this for as long as I can remember. And as I got older and started to lean into my healthy hair, she actually taught me how to look at my hair, understand its needs, understand the environment that is impacting my hair, to whip up the deep conditioner that makes sense for me, using ingredients like honey or neem oil or jojoba oil. These are problems that are impacting 65% of the US population. So these key problems are, number one, deep conditioning is time consuming and inconvenient. So the average woman can spend about 2 hours per week deep conditioning her hair, and this includes the time it takes to actually pick the product and figure out if it makes sense for what you need. The second is a lot of the products available right now have damaging ingredients like silicones, which are really harmful for curly and wavy hair in the long term. And finally, products available today are really impersonal and confusing. So you might have 10 products in your shower at one point in time to try and figure out what makes sense for your hair, and even those 10 might not work based off of your needs. MielBar wants to solve these problems by customizing treatments that change with the customer. So think of a Marcella or a me, 28 years old, curly hair. I'd go on the website, actually fill out this hair consultation form. So that would be indicating what my hair issues are right now, what my environment is, even the water based off of my zip code. And from there, the experts in the algorithm will recommend a customized treatment for the customer. This treatment would then be sent directly to their doorstep where they can condition and nourish right at home. This final step, though, is really where the magic happens. This is step 4. So we would really want our customers to subscribe to our platform and our services so they can get that deep conditioning service on an ongoing basis, and the treatments would actually change with the customer based off of their needs. And this is so crucial to deep conditioning because it's not just a one-time thing. You do want to make sure you're doing this consistently to get the results that you want. MielBar will have 3 key revenue streams. So the first is the hair treatment subscription. Second is ad hoc treatment sales. And then finally, this is the long-term vision of actually having a bar experience with salon styling services where you'd come in and have the conditioner actually made right in front of you in a brick and mortar format and be able to do that deep conditioning right in salon. Miel's customer has a lucrative market and it's a very diverse customer base. So our target segment will be Black and Latina women, 18 to 65 with curly and wavy hair. This is about a $2.4 billion segment. This is assuming a 12-month subscription to our services. And then as we grow, we do envision that this can expand to all curly and wavy hair and then eventually all women, since deep conditioning is so foundational for all hair types. In terms of acquisition and go-to-market strategy, really focusing our energy on brand marketing, that will be super important to our brand and to our acquisition process, but then also looking at influencer and salon partnerships. I've also been in talks with Women's Health magazine. A good friend of mine is the director of beauty there, and they've expressed tremendous interest in this product that we're providing and having a partnership. Miel's also in a very unique position to be the first to do it all. So a lot of our competitors do target one specific hair category. So you do have folks doing customization, you have folks doing curly specific hair care solutions, and then you also have people doing hair care that's all natural. But you don't really have anyone tackling all 3. And that's really a key component to, in my opinion, the best products that you can get for curly and wavy hair specifically, and also even more specifically deep conditioners. So why am I the right person for the job? So a little bit about me. I, of course, make these hair treatments. I'm with my mom and have been doing it since forever. I also have a background at a startup where I helped scale the team from 11 when I joined to 150. And I'm currently an intern at Google where I'm focusing my energy on their e-commerce and direct-to-consumer strategy. We're also looking to grow the team. So my first priority hire is a CMO, just thinking about how that brand marketing component will be so important, really wanting to bring someone on the team who can help us get there. So we're really hoping that you can all help MielBar change the face of natural hair care. We're seeking around $25,000 for the fall of 2020, and this will be specifically geared towards product packaging and building out our prototype, as well as launching our beta. We've already been launching our private beta groups, but it's been very brick and mortar, just having folks over or sending them locally some of the solutions that I will mix for them based off of their needs and their hair care. Thank you. Any questions?
Samantha, that was great. Thank you for your presentation. Tell us more about the secret sauce. So how will you scale? How do you, based on the inputs that you get from people, how do you decide what the product is? And then how do you do that in a scalable way?
Yeah, definitely. So there are definitely a variety of different ingredients that you can mix to solve different issues that people are having. But basically the way that we're working through it, and not to reveal too much, but essentially thinking about what are some of the key issues. So let's say it's frizz, let's say it's dandruff. And then what are some of the really amazing ingredients that solve those problems? And then how do those ingredients, depending on cost, make the most sense for the product that we're trying to provide? So essentially it would be, okay, they indicate their issues, then they also tell us their environment. And so let's say they're in Florida, for example, the water there is actually very, very harsh on your hair. So you need more moisture. So not only are we going to provide them with ingredients from that list or that algorithm that tackle the frizz, but because of their zip code that they provided, we'll also be adding some of the ingredients that we believe and have seen also add moisture. So that's essentially how we would, figure out exactly what the recommendation should be for that customer. And then in terms of scalability, when you buy these products in mass, it is actually very cost effective to create that product for them. So I actually have a cost slide here so you can see some of the gross margins as well. So it's very scalable from a cost perspective. And then what I am looking to figure out more on, and this is something I'm hoping to do in the next couple of months, is meet with manufacturers and suppliers to make this cost go even further down, hopefully, as well as make it even more scalable, since, can only go so far with my kitchen. So.
And just one quick follow-up, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
What would be the barriers to entry? What prevents anyone else from doing what you're doing?
Yeah, great question. So I think first and foremost, it's really my mother's knowledge, having done this and having experienced it myself. I've been doing these things since probably I was 18, to my own hair and to my mother forever. So I think that the barrier to entry, top of mind, is just us being able to say that we really have lived it and have been doing this for as long as we have. But then I think the second barrier to entry is also specifically pertaining to, I think attracting the market in the way that we would is not necessarily something that all of our competitors will be able to do. And specifically, I'm thinking about being a Latino-owned company and being able to say, this is going to help out the minorities who have this type of hair. I think that there's this relevance that we'd be able to provide that a lot of our competitors would not. So those are some of the two things that I think we have a leg up on, but hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This space is very crowded from my perspective in terms of, hair care in general, for, people with textured tresses, in terms of a couple things that I just saw, maybe opportunities or gaps. First, if you're focused on deep conditioning, why not add a shampoo component to that? Are those dollars that you're leaving on the table potentially? And maybe, is that maybe just a part of your niche, that conditioning piece? And then also, have you sort of tested your solutions on others? I know you talked about, some of your groups and that sort of thing. Or do you know right now in your head, even if you don't tell us, sort of other products that would be your competitors that are phenomenal conditioners out there that, if other people would learn about them, they may take your business? Do you have a sense for how your product matches up with others out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of the first question, specifically, I guess, about how competitors matching up, I think one of the things that I also, it's conflicting for me. I'm also a product junkie. So I try all the things all the time. I'm embarrassed sometimes to have friends over where they can see my bathroom. But the reason I say that is because I think that no matter how many products I try, all the brands that I try, Shea Moisture, they have these amazing products. They still don't really get my hair perfectly right in the way that it does when I actually make it myself. And I think too, the second thing is there's this educational component that I know that I have where I know, okay, this is the product that I can use for this. This is the product I know for this. But the average consumer might not know that they need to be changing their deep conditioner, based off of how their hair is evolving with the environment or is evolving with their previous treatments. And so I think that that's a huge component of where MielBar is will be so successful, is understanding that evolution is so crucial to proper hair care. And being able to do all of the thinking for the customer, right? Not having to need the customer to know all of the things that I know when I'm choosing which products to use and which ones make the most sense. But the other question that you asked, I believe, was why not expand to other products? So I do want to focus efforts initially on really making deep conditioning my niche, since that's what I know how to make right now and have really become so focused on as the reason for my hair's, current texture. But not to say that wouldn't be something that if the market research, made sense, that wouldn't be something we could tackle in the long run. But yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you so much.
Pitching next is Percepta.
Cool. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
I'm not sure to enable my video actually now that here we go. Sweet. So Hey everyone, my name is Philippe and I'm the CEO of Percepta. And today I'm going to talk about how we fight shoplifting using our ethical AI. So in the US alone, shoplifting costs retailers almost $20 billion every year. And to combat it, retailers employ loss prevention personnel to spot shoplifters and recover merchandise. But unfortunately, it's been shown that implicit biases impact who they target. And one sad effect is that minorities represent just 20% of shoppers, yet account for 70% of all shoplifting apprehensions. So today, a human operator monitors camera feeds searching for suspicious behavior, and they then radio 4 personnel to assess the situation and, if necessary, apprehend the suspect. And it's this detection step where humans perform especially poorly. So in practice, these human operators are monitoring up to 50 screens simultaneously for over 8 hours a day. And as a result, they miss 70% of all incidents. And even worse, due to their susceptibility to bias, 40% of the time they're watching someone, it's exclusively due to the color of their skin, even when that person has done nothing suspicious. And for some reason, in spite of this poor performance and bias, retailers still spend upward of $100,000 per store on these personnel. And it's these issues that we're trying to address. So how Percepta works is we first stream video from existing cameras in the store to our cloud software that receives each video feed, anonymizes shoppers using a technology called pose estimation, which essentially extracts behavioral patterns, and finally analyzes the behavior to determine shoplifting risk. And then when a high-risk incident is found, we send an alert to our mobile app and store personnel's phones so they can respond to the incident just as they do today. But to give you a better sense of how this all works, I'm going to show you a quick clip of Percepta in action. So here you can see it first anonymizing shoppers using our pose estimation technology. And now as these shoppers are stuffing items under their shirt, you can see Percepta assigning them a higher and higher theft probability. And finally, once the probability is high enough, we send an alert with a clip specifically outlining the suspects so they know exactly who to look for. And because of this anonymization process, our AI can't see race, gender, age, or really any identifiable characteristics, making it unbiased and privacy preserving. So Percepta offers 24/7 accurate monitoring and real-time alerts without worrying about false apprehensions and negative PR. And even better, this improved detection actually leads to increased savings for retailers, recovering up to 3 times as much as today's human operators. So we're targeting big box chain retailers who have to monitor hundreds of massive stores and therefore experience 30% more theft than the industry average. And more specifically, we're looking at big box retailers who sell high ticket items and those with a proactive approach towards loss prevention, because these retailers lose more dollars per incident and they have officers on site to act on our alerts. We're pricing our offering at $80 per month for each camera that we monitor. So with 240 cameras on average per big box store, we're earning $20,000 per store per month, and the retailer, even after paying us that $20,000, still saves $25,000 from losses that were prevented, and this doesn't even include potential savings on personnel. So thus far, we've validated market need by talking to over 60 loss prevention executives and personnel across the major big box retailers. And we next demonstrated technical feasibility by developing the core AI technology and a working MVP. And finally, we formed relationships with retailers to organize technical tests and pilots for later this year. So our current focus has been product development. So improving our AI further, refining our mobile app, and ensuring the scalability and security of our cloud infrastructure. Next, we'll conduct a series of technical tests and pilots to get us really quantitative metrics on ROI and efficacy that we'll then use in beginning sales to mid-sized retailers in March. And then in 2021, we'll begin intense sales efforts to big box chain retailers and add an analytics layer allowing for insights into officer performance, store level theft rates, and store traffic information. And to make all this happen, we're really fortunate to have a team with the diverse skill sets necessary to develop the technology and bring it to market. And we're also fortunate to have advisors with backgrounds spanning computer vision, retail, and privacy law to offer their invaluable insight. So as we've seen, shoplifting is a multi-billion-dollar problem for retailers, and Percepta's ethical AI is our answer, and we're incredibly excited to bring it to market and make an impact in the world of retail. So we're currently looking for introductions to retailers who share our vision and would be open to testing our technology. So with that, I'd love to open it up to questions.
Great job. I have a question about the training that you use for your AI. How do you ensure that the training of the AI isn't in effect biased itself. If you have training videos that skew one way or another, then you're going to create alerts that are just continuing this bias. How do you ensure against that?
Now that's a fantastic point, because you're 100% right that the data sets are almost always biased. So what we did is we took our data set and we actually evaluate our AI on we separate basically the data set by demographics, so by gender, by race, by age, and we evaluate performance on these specific subgroups to really determine if the model is still biased in spite of that biased inputs. And I don't know if you can see the slide up right now, but from, this is a sample of our skin color test, which showed roughly equal false positive rates across these subgroups. So this is how we sort of measure bias, and the measures we take to actually actively fight bias during the training process. I can't go too much into the details, but we do things like basically we have the model predict gender and race and age from these inputs to see if it's able to learn these things. And if it is, we then penalize it to basically push it not to learn sort of what correlates in the inputs to these demographic features.
Excellent answer, thank you.
Philippe, thank you for your presentation, and hopefully there won't be too many changes in the world so that this is still something to work on. I'm curious, when you talked about the pricing model and that the savings was attributed to your ability to save the $25,000 that you're saving them. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you came to that?
Yeah, no, great question. So essentially we took that roughly, they detect around 30% of incidents currently. And we then took our figure, we estimate we can detect 95% of incidents. And so we then extrapolated the savings based on the current savings that 30% correlates to. So, I will say this is sort of an upper bound in that this assumes, all the extra incidents that we detect, they act on and they recover. But I think the personnel savings, which aren't factored into this, do play a big part into, this 25,000 figure could be, a low ballpark estimate, because all the customers we've talked to have said their intention is they pilot this, and once they really believe in the product after this short 1 to 3 month pilot, they then sort of downsize personnel who were previously responsible for this detection, or they push them more onto the apprehensions role. So yeah, I don't know if that adequately answered your question or.
It did. And then just as a follow-up, I have to imagine that there are other technology companies that are trying something similar. What's your perspective on competition or other innovations in the space?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at the competition out there, so I'll start with this. So the broad classes of competitors are, humans are the de facto competitor. 90% of retailers still use this humans, which we've, expressed the downsides of. Facial recognition is the dominant competitor in the United States. So facial recognition is used to, you have a database of past shoplifters, and when someone walks in and they're a past shoplifter, you flag it and you kick them out or you watch them more closely. But facial recognition is all these issues regarding bias, regarding just public perception, negative PR. You might have seen in the news recently, IBM, Microsoft, everyone is pushing back against it. So we think it's going to go the way of the past pretty soon, at least for retailers. And then you have this new class of AI competitors who are emerging. And some examples, you can see on this slide. Third Eye is a big one, probably our closest competitor. And our big differentiator is they don't have this ethical focus, which is really hard to actually accomplish. So what Third Eye does is they blur faces before feeding it to the AI, but the AI can still extrapolate all this information about race and gender and bias itself. So we actually looked at Third Eye's patents, and they have all these modules, before even feeding data to the AI, they actually intentionally extract facial, gender, other demographic information. So essentially, our big differentiator with these AI competitors, who are the smallest class, but the closest, the most direct, is this ethical component, which is really, really hard to emulate, because this has been sort of a research task that we've been pursuing for the past 4 years at Penn. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, nothing for me. That was going to be my question about the talent in the store and how their role would then, be changed and adjusted once the technology takes over, and you actually wound up answering that.
Yeah, no, I mean, the idea is we keep the process the exact same, instead of the human radioing, they just get this award. So that's a great point. That was a big concern of ours, just how do we affect the process? We don't want to, switch things up too much. So the idea is that, we just seamlessly slot in and just replace that little detection component in that pipeline I showed at the beginning.
Awesome, great, thanks.
Thanks, Philippe.
Amazing, thank you guys.
And with that, we get to our final pitch. Natalie from Green Ablutions.
How much trash is in your shower? Do you have a bottle of shampoo, conditioner, body wash, maybe even face wash or shaving cream? These bottles add up. When only 9% of plastic is recycled worldwide, your bathroom is a landfill. As kids, we learned the mantra, reduce, reuse, recycle. But in recent years, the process of recycling plastic has become a losing enterprise. Waste managers pick and choose which of the 7 recyclable types of plastic they'll accept, often based on resale values. Materials too costly to get processed get trashed. They end up in a landfill, or worse, our oceans. This reality challenges us to rethink. Recycling plastic is not enough. Recycling plastic is irresponsible. We need to reduce. Green Ablutions is solving the plastic pollution crisis in your bathroom with sustainable, solid shampoo and conditioner. Like other eco-friendly products, these vegan bars provide salon quality style without the waste. Crafted from gentle coconut surfactants and natural oils, they perform better than traditional products by using the water already in your shower. Each concentrated bar replaces up to 3 plastic bottles of comparable liquids. They're excellent travel companions too, and we offer matching waterproof tins to take them on the go. Consumers want sustainable options. A study last year by Shelton Group found that 80% of Americans said they would buy products that don't use plastic if given the chance. A recent study by the National Retail Foundation reported that 70% of consumers in the US and Canada think it's important that a brand is sustainable. 2/3 of millennials reported boycotting a brand that didn't align with their values, and half said they stopped shopping at a brand in the past year for those reasons. Moreover, governments across the globe are responding to the environmental outcries with bans on single-use plastic. This is why our bars come packed in paper that is fully curbside recyclable and home compostable. I started Green Ablutions out of necessity when I couldn't find plastic-free products that worked for myself and my family. I've bootstrapped this company using my background in engineering and project management, along with the skills I developed over my successful 15-year career in pharmaceuticals. In January, I launched through a local farmers market. This gave me the opportunity to speak one-on-one with customers about their needs and get product feedback while keeping overhead low. When COVID hit in March, I quickly pivoted to selling at greenablutions.com. In June, The bars landed on shelves of 7 retail stores in the Philadelphia area. I have 2 more on deck, and I'm targeting another 8 locations for expansion this fall. While it took a few weeks to recover from the impact of the shutdowns, sales have rebounded nicely. I've sold over $4,000 of product in the middle of a pandemic. I'm building a loyal customer following who spends on average $31 each purchase. I've spent $2.70 per customer in marketing and acquisition. The bars have a general consumption rate of 3 to 5 months, which works out to be about 80 washes. I'm also working on a subscription option to capitalize on this frequency. Right now, I want your help expanding my brand's footprint in the Philadelphia area. I'm looking for introductions where my customer shops to be on more shelves in the region. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to take questions now.
Natalie, my question is about your product being the concept being copied by other large companies that provide toiletries and that sort of thing. What makes, you know, Pantene or, you know, another company, can they all just switch over and say, we'll jump on this trend, they'll probably reduce their own costs and make their shampoos and conditioners into bars as well? Or is there anything that's unique about your process or concept that other well-known brands can't just kind of morph theirs into and kind of minimize some of the visibility that you may have?
So I think what makes my brand most unique is the authenticity behind it. I started this brand because I couldn't find what I wanted. There are larger brands that have made commitments towards environmental sustainability, and I can show you what that looks like. They've made commitments that are 10 years out in the future. It basically amounts to greenwashing. They're doing the minimum that they possibly could do. They're committing to larger quantities of recycled plastic in their products. They're not committing to reducing or eliminating plastic in their products at all. And customers know that.
Yep, awesome. Good point, thank you.
Did I hear you, and maybe I was confused, but I thought you talked about getting your product into the stores?
Yes.
Are you also going to be a direct market company, or are you more planning on being in the store shelves?
Right now I'm working both.
Right.
So I have direct to customer through the website, and I also have 7 retail stores.
Thank you.
Hi, Natalie. Congratulations on your product and your traction, especially during this particular, interesting time that we're going through.
Thank you very much.
So just to follow up on Rick's comment, for the direct-to-consumer, how are you targeting? How are you finding your ideal customer?
So I've been using a series of Facebook and Instagram marketing to target customers and building a loyal following through Instagram.
Great. And can you tell us a little bit more about your team?
So right now, I am a solo founder and I am the team.
and tell us a little bit more about you then.
So I have a background. My undergraduate was in mechanical engineering, and I took that and spent 15 years in pharmaceuticals, where I managed projects for engineering, vaccine manufacturing. And I also spent extensive time in clinical trial project management. I have managed budgets in excess of $2 billion. And when I got to a point in my career where I decided it was time for me to do something on my own, I wasn't able to find a product I was looking for, and this is what I chose to do.
Well said. Thank you, Natalie.
Any more questions from our judges? No? Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have reached the end of the pitch portion of our event. If you can't tell, I am super excited and proud. I haven't stopped smiling this entire time. The cohort has made so much progress over the past 6 weeks. As our judges move into their deliberation room, I just want to take a moment to thank all of our mentors, all 10 mentors that were paired with each of our 10 cohort companies. Sophia Jovic, Max Pollock, Jordana Barmish, Opeola Bacola, Rafi Spiro, Axel Gungor, Tom Crowley, Mike Dishowitz, Sasha Schrody, and Carter McClure. Thank you all for taking the time to help our companies through this 6-week journey. And thank you to all of the speakers, office hour hosts, people that are guests that came in for pitch practice and networking, and everybody else who has supported this program throughout the summer. Now we will go into deliberation, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes to announce our winner.
A little more than 5 minutes.
A little more than 5 minutes.
It's 12:25.
Yeah, we'll be back at 12:25. So we have about 20 minutes to deliberate. We hope that you can get a snack, something in that time, but don't leave us because we'll come back at the end to share the winner of today.
Welcome back. We are back from the deliberation room, and we have our final results. I am going to introduce Anish Kumar, our Managing Director of Pennovation Works, to announce our winner. Give me one moment. Hi, Anish.
Hi. So, not going to waste too much of your time. I know everybody's anxious to get going. Welcome back. And thank you to all of the companies for sharing your pitches today, and to our most excellent panel of judges, Dr. Brandi, Holly, and Rick. I enjoyed their deliberations, or hearing their deliberations on the scoring of all the pitches and the experience that you've all had so far. And thank you to all three of you for joining us and for participating in our accelerator. I also want to thank Jamie and Genevieve, who have done such an amazing job. And I hope you will all agree that this pivot to a virtual accelerator has been challenging. It hasn't been without its ups and downs. And I think that you both did a phenomenal job turning us into a virtual format. My name again is Anish. I'm the Managing Director of Pennovation Works. And being here and hearing your pitches today is really, I'm not just saying it, it's the best part of my job. I learned a lot. I had a wonderful time this morning. And I think the learning that I get from hearing all of your pitches and the issues that you're all trying to solve to make our lives better is just commendable. So, you know, the decision to pick the best overall winner and the best pitch is, as you can imagine, difficult. And we do have a winner. The judges were unanimous in selecting Headway as and I wish I had a drum roll, but we could have done it like the Oscars, but Headway has been picked as our overall winner of the pitch. So please join me in congratulating them. Congratulations for what you're trying to do, and I wish you all the very best. The best pitch winner has been awarded to, and we're going to see the slide come up, Solution Medical. Julia and Jonathan, thank you for your wonderful pitch. It was the best one of all, which is not to say that the others didn't make good pitches. I think everyone made phenomenal pitches, but congratulations to you. I'm looking forward to welcoming you both, and all of you actually, to Pennovation as members in the coming year.
Thank you. And I actually just want to say one thing was this accelerator actually got us to incorporate and take this seriously, and appreciate all the programming support that Jamie and Genevieve organized, and all of the mentors that have, put in their time for these past 6 weeks.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you, Julia.
Mrs. Other Julia, thank you, everybody. We've really had a very good time, and it's been an honor to be a part of this, but also see all of the teams grow throughout this. I think everybody made a lot of progress. So thank you.
All right, back to you, Jamie.
Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to the companies for pitching, and everybody for your support.
I wish we had like crowd noise or something we could play.
I know. Ideally we would have a happy hour with some wine and cheese.
Yes.
But we can't do that.
We need the virtual hug button. I know there's applause.
Yes.
This is a virtual hugging situation. So yeah, Jamie and Genevieve, thank you. This has been great for everyone. We know that it's been a lot of work for you. So you really did an outstanding job. We really appreciate it. Super, super helpful. Thanks.
And to all of you, please stay in touch with us and join us.
Yes. Remember that all of you are welcome at the center through the summer.